This ground is not finished being made. Every year it splits apart by a few centimeters. And into that gap, molten rock rises, cools, and becomes new land. That land is still growing today, beneath the feet of everyone who lives on it. You might picture Iceland as black, scorched, and ruled by fire. You would be wrong. Much of the island is white. Glaciers cover nearly 1/10 of it. Ice that started forming before a single pyramid stood in Egypt. Underneath some of that ice, volcanoes are waiting. When they wake, the ice melts from below in hours, not years, and the flood that follows can reshape a valley before morning. On just over 100,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Kentucky, fewer than 400,000 people live, most of them clinging to a coastline that has never once stopped moving. This is Iceland. And the people who call it home have built ordinary lives, school runs, coffee, work, on ground that refuses to sit still. So how exactly do you build a normal life on land that is still being born? Every week I go looking for a place that quietly rewrites what you thought you knew about the map. This is one of them. If that is the kind of travel documentary you want to keep finding, subscribe, and I will bring you the next one. Most places, continents drift apart over millions of years, in ways no one alive will ever see. Here, you can stand in a crack. It is easy to assume a place this restless would be barren. It is not what you expect. When the first Vikings arrived here, over 1,000 years ago, much of this island was covered in birch forest. Today, less than 1% of that forest remains. The trees were lost quietly, to timber, to grazing, to centuries of wind, with nothing left standing to break it. What replaced the forest was sheep. There are roughly twice as many sheep in Iceland as there are people. Between the waterfalls, and there are more than 10,000 of them, and the volcanoes and the glaciers, this entire country can be circled by car in a single day. 17 hours, start to finish. The road curving past more raw geology than most countries hold in their entire territory. One waterfall barely out of sight before the next one appears. But it is not the land that makes Iceland strange. It is what the people who live on top of it have quietly agreed to accept as normal. Outside a cafe in Reykjavík, on a morning well below freezing, there is a stroller parked on the sidewalk. No adult standing beside it. Inside, wrapped in wool, a baby is fast asleep. Nobody walking past even glances at it twice. This is not neglect. It is one of the most ordinary things you can witness in Iceland. Would you leave your own child sleeping outside, alone, in the cold, and trust that everything would be fine? Tell me in the comments. Because Icelanders do it without a second thought. Trust here is not naive. It is earned, generation after generation, by a country small enough that almost everyone quietly looks out for everyone else. For a few weeks around midwinter, the sun in Reykjavík rises after 11 in the morning and sets before 4 in the afternoon. A handful of pale hours squeeze between two long nights. Half a year later, in the north of the country, the opposite happens. The sun simply stops setting for weeks at a stretch. Geothermal pools sit in nearly every town, open through every season, steam lifting off the surface even as the air outside bites at your cheeks and freezes the ends of your hair. They are not just for swimming. They are where people actually meet each other, trade the week's news, watch their children learn to float before they can properly walk. It is a strange kind of confidence, built on things you cannot always see. As it turns out, that same quiet trust extends to things the rest of the world would call impossible to believe in at all. In the town of Kópavogur, there is a stretch of road that bends around a large rock for no engineering reason anyone can point to. Officially, it was easier to build it that way. Unofficially, the rock is called Alfhol, Elf Hill, and after construction equipment kept mysteriously failing near it, the road was rerouted around it instead of through it. This is Huldufolk, literally hidden people, a belief in an unseen population that Icelanders have lived alongside for centuries. If a story like that showed up anywhere else, you might assume it was a one-off. It is not. There's something worth sitting with here. What would it take, where you live, for a government to reroute a road because people believed something unseen lived there? If nothing comes to mind, that alone tells you something about how differently Iceland relates to its own land. In a festival called Þorrablót, families gathered to eat foods their ancestors relied on to survive the season. Cured, salted, fermented, dishes that exist not because anyone particularly enjoys them, but because refusing to eat what the land offered once meant not making it through to spring. One dish in particular, hakarl, fermented shark meat, tells that story on its own. Fresh, the meat is toxic. Cured and buried for months, it becomes something people can actually eat. It is served today less as a meal and more as a small act of memory. A way of tasting exactly how close survival once ran to the edge here. If this feels like a place still keeping half of its old promises, you're not wrong. If Iceland has kept that many quiet agreements with its own land and its own history, hit like and share this with someone who needs a reminder that the whole world hasn't been fully explained yet. Not every promise here has been kept easily, though. Some of them have cost people everything they had. "40 kilometers off the north coast sits Grimsey, the only part of Iceland where the Arctic Circle actually crosses land. Around 60 people live there, all in one small harbor village called Sandvík. A ferry connects them to the mainland, 3 hours each way, a few times a week in winter. When the weather turns, and on this coast it turns often, that ferry simply does not sail. There is no bridge, no second route. If the boat cannot cross, nothing crosses. Groceries wait, post waits. A medical emergency becomes a question of whether a helicopter can fly in that particular storm, not a short drive to the nearest hospital. Ask anyone who has lived through a week like that. Wind howling against the windows, the harbor empty, the mainland close on a map and impossibly far in practice. And they will tell you the same thing. The isolation is only half of it. The other half is the dark. By December, large parts of the country see barely more than 4 or 5 hours of usable daylight. And even that light stays low and gray, never fully rising. Streetlights stay on through what should be midday. For residents, especially in small fishing towns like this one, the long winter is a genuine, documented strain. Not a mood, but a physical toll that public health campaigns here openly discuss and plan around. With clinics, light therapy, and community check-ins built specifically around the darkest months. And yet, when the ferry finally does sail back into Sandvik's harbor, loaded with everything the island needed that week, nobody talks about leaving. They talk about the puffins that will return to the cliffs in spring, and about how, by June, the sun over this same small island will not set at all. So how do you build a normal life on land that is still, quite literally, being made? You stop expecting the ground to hold still, and you build around that instead. You take heat that could just as easily destroy a town and turn it into a pool where your neighbors gather every evening. You take a piece of folklore about hidden people and let it protect a rock, a hillside, a piece of coastline that might otherwise have been paved over without a second thought. You take a child, wrap them in wool, and trust the cold air more than you trust staying indoors. And when the boat cannot cross, and the sun will not rise past 11, and winter asks more of you than most winters anywhere else, you do not leave. You also learn to read a landscape most people would call dangerous, and find in it something closer to reassurance. A glacier that could flood a valley by morning is also the reason there is fresh water, dramatic scenery, and a kind of quiet nobody has to manufacture. The same instability that could take something away is, more often, simply the price of living somewhere this alive. That is the real answer. Not that Icelanders have somehow tamed this land. Nobody has. They have simply agreed, generation after generation, to live honestly beside something that will never fully sit still. and to call that, quietly, normal. There is another place not far from here on the map where the ground tells an even stranger story, one this island has never quite gotten to finish telling. If a place like Iceland can quietly rewrite what you thought was possible, imagine what is waiting in the next one. Subscribe and come find out with me.